Just want to put that out there in case anyone
Make sure the green light is
questions
lit.
that.
Just wait. Make sure the green light is lit.
You okay to go?
No. I'm missing one juror.
I see that. Sorry. Okay. Okay, good afternoon, jury. You have been brought here to act as the jury in this case, and I'm going to give you some instructions. You are the judges of the facts. You will listen to the witnesses, and at the end of the case, you will determine what facts have been proven or not proven. At the end of the case, I will tell you what the law is. You must accept the law as I tell it to you, whether you agree with the law or not, and you must apply that law to the facts as you see them to be in order to reach your verdict. Now please stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I state your name.
Do solemnly promise.
Do solemnly promise.
That I will listen to the evidence.
That I will listen to the evidence.
Of the case with an open mind.
Of the case with an open mind.
Without prejudice.
Without prejudice.
Or favoritism.
Or favoritism.
And apply the law.
And apply the law.
As it is given by the judge.
As it is given by the judge.
In reaching a fair and just verdict.
And reaching a fair and just verdict.
Thank you. Have a seat. Remember that what the attorneys say in these opening statements is not evidence. Also, what they say in their concluding arguments is not evidence. The evidence on which you must decide this case will come from the testimony of the witnesses. Prosecution, are you ready with your opening statement?
Yes, we are. Excuse me. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Early in the morning on June 8th, 2008, if you were standing around the perimeter of the Texas governor's mansion, which the governor and his family had already moved out of, you would have seen it suddenly burst into flames. You will find from our case that the governor's mansion did not simply burn down. It was intentionally set on fire. There's objective proof that a Molotov cocktail was thrown at the mansion, and a cigarette lighter was used to light the Molotov cocktail. A Molotov cocktail is a bottle of something flammable, such as alcohol, and a rag, often soaked also in alcohol. The rag is then lit and on fire, and the bottle is thrown to start a fire. A cigarette lighter was found on the side of the road and placed in an evidence bag. As is standard practice, the lighter was fingerprinted, and, after further investigation, the defendant, Taylor Glow, was arrested for the heinous crime of arson. You will also find that our defendant drives what is described as a late model yellow sports car. You will also hear that a late model yellow sports car was seen next to the mansion at the time of the fire, and is almost certainly the automobile of our arsonist. At the end of the case, we will ask you to make a decision as to whether or not you believe Taylor Glow did in fact burn down the Texas governor's mansion. I firmly believe that after you hear the witness's testimony, you will agree with me. You will learn about the consistency of the automobile. You will learn about the lighter found on the scene with Taylor Glow's fingerprints. I believe that once you understand all the facts, you will agree with me in that Taylor Glow is guilty of this heinous crime. Thank you, Your Honor. Sorry.
Defense, are you ready for your opening statement? Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, what? I thought I already had one. Okay, my bad.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, today you will hear multiple accounts of small pieces of evidence over and over again, trying to convict my client, Taylor Glow, of arson. Taylor Glow would not commit arson. He is a young college student with a dream of becoming a big businessman. Why would he ruin his future like this and commit arson? Think about it. If you had big dreams for the future, would you ruin it by burning down a building? Arson is described in Texas law as the act of starting or causing an explosion for the purpose of destroying or damaging land, buildings, or vehicles. Starting a fire is also considered arson, even if the fire goes out before causing any damage. I want you to think again. Why would Taylor Glow do this? Thank you, Your Honor.
Prosecution, please call your first witness.
I called Jimmie Smith.
Okay, Mr. Jimmie, if you want to take a seat, and before you sit down in the witness stand, please raise your right hand. Do you swear any testimony you will give today is the full truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please have a seat. And just remember, please keep your voice up.
First question, what is your name?
My name is Jimmie Smith.
And what is your job?
I'm a trooper at the governor's mansion, and I work at the Texas History Museum.
Where were you on the morning of June 8th?
I was in the carriage house above the garage in the governor's mansion.
What alerted you that there is danger?
At 1:35 a.m., I heard the fire alarm.
What happened outside of the mansion?
At 1:42 a.m., I called the Department of Public Services, also known as the DPS, on my personal cell phone. Then I smelled smoke and saw a glow through the mansion's front window. After that, I told the DPS to call the fire department.
When and where did the fire truck arrive?
The fire truck arrived at 1:47 a.m., and I heard sirens up Lavica Street. Then the fire truck drove around to Colorado Street. Then I flagged down the fire truck.
And what did you do after the fire truck arrived?
I stayed and assisted the scene, even though Trooper Brown came to relieve me at 1:57 a.m.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Terrence, do you have any questions for this witness?
Please state your name. Jimmie Smith.
Okay. After your 8-hour shift at the Texas History Museum, you arrived for your 4-hour shift at the governor's mansion. Is this true?
Yes.
So, in total, that is a 12-hour shift, correct?
Yes.
And while you were working as a night guard, you smelled smoke but did not pull the fire alarm?
Yes, I heard the fire alarm.
I have no further questions for this witness.
Do you have any redirects? No. Okay. Mr. Smith, you can step down. Prosecution, you can call your next witness.
You call Martinez.
Okay, Ms. Martinez, please raise your right hand. Do you swear any testimony you will give today is the full truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please have a seat. Just keep your voice up.
What is your name?
My name is Officer Cameron Martinez.
And what is your job?
I'm a police officer.
Were you working on June 8th, 2008?
Yes, I was at the plaintiff's office downtown, and I heard a fire alarms. I went in the direction of the governor's mansion and saw a suspicious-looking person.
Where did you see the person?
I saw the person on 11th and Guadalupe Street. The person got into a yellow late modern sports car, which was parked facing west on 11th Street.
Did the person drive away?
Yes, he drove off quickly, and I walked to where the car was parked.
Did you find anything there?
Yes, I found a cigarette lighter on the ground by where the car had been parked and put it in an evidence bag.
Did you help investigate the fire?
Yes.
How?
I talked to the state fire marshal who advised that there was evidence that indicated this was an intentionally set fire, so we considered it a criminal act. I viewed the video taken by the security cameras, and you can clearly see a shady figure.
Can you describe the person?
Yes, he was between 5 feet and 9 feet and 6 feet and 1 inch tall.
What was he wearing?
He was wearing a baseball type cap, a dark shirt, long pants, and work gloves.
Did you see the person light the fire?
Yes, the video shows the person lighting a glass bottle stuffed with fuel-soaked rag using a cigarette lighter. The person then hurled an object at the front of the porch, and you can see an immediate burst of flame.
Did you arrest anyone?
Yes, we arrested Taylor Glow for the charge of arson. When we arrested him, he was wearing a baseball cap.
Did you fingerprint him?
Yes, and his fingerprints matched the ones on the cigarette lighter I found near the car.
And did you run the records on Mr. Glow's vehicle?
Yes, and it showed that he owned a late modern yellow sports car.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Defense, any questions for this witness?
The person you saw was between 5'9" and 6'1", correct?
Correct.
Just to clarify, the shortest possible height was 5'9", correct?
Correct.
How did you find yourself at the crime scene?
I heard it was early in the morning on June 8th, and I was working at the office, and I heard the fire alarms, and I went to investigate.
You saw a figure on the security cameras, correct?
Yes, and I also saw them on 11th and Guadalupe Street.
Did you see the figure's face?
No, I did not.
The quality of the security cameras was poor, correct?
Sorry. Correct.
Did you see the cigarette lighter fall from the car?
No, I did not.
Did you see the figure ever enter the car?
Yes, I did.
The only evidence you found was a cigarette lighter, correct?
Correct.
Are you sure you saw the car?
Yes.
Do you have any other evidence that the car was there other than eyewitness?
I have a video footage.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Any redirect for this witness? Yes, Your Honor.
So it was dark.
Correct.
And you could believe that it could affect the precise height of the victim.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Listener, you can step down.
Okay.
Prosecution, you can call your next witness. Please call Morie. Okay, Ms. Burst, if you want to have this here. I'm just going to ask you to please raise your right hand. Do you swear any testimony you'll give today is the full truth to help you God?
Yes.
Please have a seat and make sure you keep your voice up.
What is your name?
My name is Morie Burst.
What do you do for a living?
I am an investigator for the State Fire Marshal.
How long have you been an investigator there for?
I've been studying fires for over 45 years, and I usually study arson cases on public properties.
Did you investigate the fire at the governor's mansion on the morning of June 8th?
Yes.
Is it your expert opinion that you believe that it was arson?
I believe yes.
Why are you led to believe that it was arson?
I was led to believe it was arson because after examining the photographs, I noticed there was a V-shaped mark of soot beginning on the front porch. I had immediately known it was a Molotov cocktail because of my experience investigating fires. I knew the fire was not an accident.
Did your investigation lead you to believe that Taylor Glow started the fire? Why?
I believe that Taylor Glow started the fire because after Maddie Koonz came to the station to tell us about a suspicious person she saw earlier that morning, we got an anonymous phone call from someone in the business fraternity group from City College, where someone suggested about initiating their new member by having them do something to earn their place. After investigating further, we were led to Taylor Glow, who was a new initiate in the business fraternity group, and drove a late model yellow sports car, identical to the car that fled the scene on June 8th. Cameron Martinez also fingerprinted him, and we found his fingerprints on a lighter found on the street.
No further questions.
Defense, do you have any questions?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, you admit that that arson cases are very hard to solve, right? Especially ones this.
Oh, I am.
You admit that arson cases are very difficult to solve, right? Especially arson involving public buildings?
Yes.
Maddie did not give you the name of the person liable for the crime, am I correct?
Yes.
The anonymous caller never said anything about setting fire to the governor's house, right?
Yes.
In fact, they were jokingly talking about the group, correct?
Yes.
Isn't it possible that Taylor was just in the vicinity of the crime and may have dropped a cigarette lighter near the scene, but it was so late he didn't find it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Prosecution, we have any redirect for this witness.
Oh my god, I was so anxious.
Okay, Ms. Bursch, you have a seat. Thank you.
Oh wait.
Prosecution, do you have any other witnesses?
We do not know.
Okay, so you rest, right?
Yes.
Okay, defense, please call your first witness.
Taylor Glow.
Okay, Mr. Glow, before you have a seat, please raise your right hand. Do you swear any testimony you will give today is the full truth to help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
Please have a seat.
What is your name?
My name is Taylor Glow.
And how tall are you, Taylor?
I'm 5'6".
What college are you currently attending?
City College.
And what year are you in?
I'm in my junior year.
And what's your major?
I'm majoring business. I'm looking forward to get my bachelor's degree in MBA.
And are you enjoying that so far, Taylor?
Yes, I am.
And what took place on June 7th, 2008?
I couldn't sleep that night, so I decided to drive downtown and take a walk.
And around what time did you leave downtown?
I left around 12 p.m.
And do you participate in anything outside of your current schooling?
I participate in community service.
And how are your grades looking so far?
I have very good grades, and I'm excited to get my bachelor's degree in MBA.
And you are in the business fraternity in City College, correct?
I am, yes.
And could you give me a description of what happened at the fraternity meeting on June 6th?
Some of the seniors thought it would be fun to give the new members a challenge. I would never even consider setting a fire to the mansion. Most of them were joking.
And did you hear any rumors about a group making Molotov cocktails?
I did, yes. I read it in the newspaper.
Did you set fire to this mansion?
No.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Prosecution, do you have any questions for this witness? Yes, Your Honor.
You couldn't sleep the night of June 7th, correct?
Correct.
And you drive a yellow sports car?
Yes.
Did you walk around after parking your car?
Yes.
And do you usually wear baseball hats?
Yes.
So you're telling me you drive the same kind of car, wear the same kind of hats, and were awake the same night as the arson?
Yes.
Is it true that you do not smoke?
Yes.
And yet your fingerprints were found on the litter right outside the mansion.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that it's possible that you dropped the lighter even though you wouldn't have it for any reason because you don't smoke? You also said that most people were joking about setting the fire. That still could mean that some people were being serious about it, correct?
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Defense, you can redirect.
Please tell me again, Taylor, how tall are you?
I am 5'6".
Okay, I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Cole, you can step down. Thank you. Defense, please call your next witness.
Can we call Hunter Lincoln, please?
Mr. Lincoln. Before you sit, please raise your right hand. Do you swear any testimony you will give today is the full truth to help you God?
I do, Your Honor.
Please have a seat.
Could you please state your name?
Hunter Lincoln.
What is your relationship with Taylor Glow?
He's a part of my business fraternity at City College.
When was he initiated into the fraternity and why?
He was initiated in the spring of 2008. He was initiated because he had very good grades and had very good records, which is what the business fraternity looks for. He personally impressed me.
Did he attend many of the fraternity meetings?
He attends all of the meetings. He's very eager for the fraternity and would do anything for the fraternity, but he would never ruin his life over a business fraternity.
What is your position at the business fraternity at City College?
I'm the head of the business fraternity at City College.
Were you aware of the $50,000 award?
I was, and I would have loved that award for my business fraternity, but I do not think that it was Taylor Glow.
No further questions, sir.
Prosecution, do you have any questions for this witness? Yes, Your Honor.
You're the president of the business fraternity at City College, correct?
Yes.
And you admit people who have good grades and records in your fraternity.
Yes.
Taylor Glow is a part of that fraternity, correct?
Yes.
And you know Taylor Glow would do anything to please the group, correct?
Yes.
And he was in the meeting where seniors were joking about a hazing activity for new members, like Taylor Glow.
Yes.
And you provided the names of the people who attended the meeting to the police, correct?
Yes.
And you feel guilty for Taylor Glow's arrest because you stated that he was at the meeting and put him on the scene.
Yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Do you have any redirect for this witness? Okay, Mr. Levine, you can step in. Defense, call your next witness, please.
Terrence.
Okay, Ms. Koonz, before you sit, please raise your right hand. Do you swear any testimony you are about to give us the full truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please have a seat.
So what is your name and job?
I am Maddie Koonz, and I work at Dunkabuck Coffee House on Guadalupe Street.
Were you working on the date of June 8th?
Yes, I was working the late shift at the coffee house, and I left work around 1 a.m. after cleaning.
Did you park close to the governor's mansion?
I always park close to the governor's mansion because it's a safe place to park, and there are a lot of police officers around.
What did you witness after leaving work?
I witnessed a person running to his car on 11th Street who looked about 6 feet, and he was wearing a baseball cap, so I couldn't see his or her face. And I saw this person drive away in a late model yellow sports car, and they were wearing some sort of gloves, loose-fitting jeans, and a dark shirt, and this person looked to be in their 20s.
How tall were they exactly?
As I said before, they were around 6 feet tall.
Did you see anything else the other night than the person running?
I heard sirens and saw lots of activity at the governor's mansion. Then I noticed smoke and flames. At that time, I decided to get out of the scene, so I drove home. Later that morning, after sleeping, I heard that someone had set a fire to the governor's mansion.
Why were you out that late?
I was out this late because I had to work the late shift at Dunkabuck Coffee House.
Do you know if it was male or female?
No, you couldn't tell if it were male or female. I could not see their body shape as well, so it was harder to tell. I could just tell their height and what they were wearing and what they were driving.
Lastly, how would the $50,000 reward help you?
Honestly, this would help anybody because it's a lot of money. And if anybody saw what I saw, they would go down to the fire marshal's house and report what they saw for this money.
Okay, that is all.
Do you have any questions for this witness? Yeah. Make sure you get the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You work at Dunkabuck on Guadalupe Street, a block away from the governor's mansion, correct?
Yes, I do.
Is it correct that you did not give any names to the police regarding the person that you saw?
No, I did not.
It was dark, however, so you probably would not be able to see someone running that far away in the dark, correct?
Well, since I was near my car, the headlights were on, so I could see a little bit of it.
Okay, no further question.
Do you have any redirect for this?
Yes. So how tall were they again?
They looked to be around 6 foot.
What were they wearing?
They were wearing some sort of glove, a dark shirt, and loose-fitting jeans.
So, if they were wearing gloves, how would they have fingerprints on a cigarette lighter?
I'm not sure.
Okay, that's all, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Koonz, you can have a seat. Okay, defense, do you have any other witnesses? Defense, do you rest?
Yes.
Okay, prosecution, please give your closing statements.
Sorry. All right. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, June 7th, 2008 saw the Texas governor's mansion intentionally set on fire. You have heard overwhelming evidence to point to our defendant, Taylor Glow, as the arsonist. You have heard that Mr. Glow's fingerprints were found on the lighter found at the scene. You have heard that Taylor Glow owns a late model yellow sports car, as does the arsonist. We will ask you to make a decision, and I strongly believe that you will agree with me. Taylor Glow is guilty of the crime of arson. Thank you for your time, Your Honor.
In defense, please give your closing statement.
Oh! Sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you've heard multiple accounts about that it was not clear what gender, what height, or what the arsonist was wearing. All we have heard was that they found a lighter with fingerprints. But as you've heard again from my witnesses, that the arsonist was wearing gloves at the time. And as you've heard from Taylor Glow himself, he did not start the fire because he left the scene of the crime at 12 o'clock. And the fire alarm went off at 1:35. Those times are very different. There's a big gap in between it. How could he have started the fire and gotten away with that much time? And again, I ask you, don't ruin his life. Don't take it away from him. He did not do this. Don't ruin his life for this. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, members of the jury. The defendant in this case is charged with a criminal offense. Under our legal system, a person is innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. This means that the state must place before you enough evidence to convince you to the satisfaction of your good sense that such a crime was committed by the person on trial. The defendant before this court is charged with the crime of arson. This crime under Texas criminal law is described under Texas law as the act of starting a fire or causing an explosion for the purpose of destroying or damaging land, buildings, or vehicles. Starting a fire is considered arson, even if the fire goes out before causing any damage. One can be charged with arson if he or she starts the fire or sets off an explosion and knows the property belongs to another person, sits on property belonging to another person, or contains property belonging to another person. The property is insured against damage, or that there is a mortgage or lien on the property held by someone other than the person who sets the fire. One can also be charged with arson, regardless of intentions, if he or she recklessly sets a fire or sets off an explosion without regard for the safety of other people or property. Arson is a second-degree felony, punishable by 2 to 20 years in state prison, unless the fire involves a church or someone is hurt or killed. In those cases, it is a first-degree felony, which would carry a life sentence. In all criminal cases, the burden of proof is on the state. The defendant is presumed to be innocent until his guilt is established by legal evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. In case you have a reasonable doubt of the defendant's guilt, you will acquit him and say by your verdict, not guilty. When making your decision, you should look carefully at what each witness said. Where witnesses disagree, you must decide which witness is reliable. You should now consider all the evidence. Now retire and choose a presiding juror. When you have reached a decision, the presiding juror should notify me and return the verdict. Okay, you guys can step out and take the rates.
Jurors, we'll take you this way, up here. Good job, mock trial. You got something here. Great job.
That's so bad.
What if we like Taylor?
You know what we're gonna do though, because we don't have enough time, we're not even gonna appoint a foreman. Let's all just go around and you can decide what your thoughts are. If guilty or innocent would be the first question. Well, why don't you guys read the jury verdict sheet and see, that's the question you have to answer. And then we can start one at a time. And then you can say what you think, and then you guys can all talk about it, okay? You can go first.
Alright, so one thing I noticed is how many late model yellow sports cars do you think there was? A. B, no one could reach an agreement on height, so height is pretty much out of the question for anyone that's thinking about height. And C, if he was wearing gloves or a glove, well, if he was wearing a glove, then it's still possible that he could have fingerprints on the lighter. But if he was wearing two gloves, which they never, I believe they never specified if they were wearing a glove or gloves. If they were wearing both gloves, then how would they have fingerprints on the lighter?
I just want to say, he said he's not a smoker. And why would he have a cigarette lighter? The only reason why he would have it is if he stole it from someone, meaning that it's also an account of theft and arson. So I doubt that he actually started the fire with the weapon, with the cigarette lighter. So if he did start the fire, it would have not been with the cigarette lighter.
The cigarette lighters aren't only used.
I go off with this, but also maybe he's just saying, "Oh, I don't smoke," because maybe he's like ashamed that he just started smoking and doesn't want anybody else to know about it.
He's not allowed to lie.
He's not allowed to lie.
He's gonna get a worse.
But also, how I agree with CJ on this one. How the heck would they know that they had the fingerprints if he had gloves on? And yes, it might have been his lighter, but we still don't know that he was the one who did it.
Does somebody else talk? Alright, I think he didn't do it because he was wearing gloves, and they wouldn't be able to get a fingerprint if he was wearing gloves, unless he didn't have the gloves on originally, and then he put them on after he got out.
I agree with him. He could have put them on, but how do we know he put them on? And how do we know that they're not, that he actually had them? How do we know that the smoker was his?
Go ahead, Emma.
I say that because it's undetermined how much, if he was wearing both gloves or he put the gloves on after, that it could be either way if he grabbed one of the lighters before he did anything and then dropped it after, so he could have the evidence.
Dora?
So, I don't know, but was there actual evidence that he had a flammable liquid and a rag that he could have thrown onto the porch?
I don't think there was evidence.
I think.
Do we know if he was like an
Let everybody
alcoholic or
talk.
anything?
Yeah, do we know if he was an alcoholic? Because if
They said he was in his
I don't think he would be like that.
I mean,
I don't think he would be like that.
they said that he was in his 20s, but he's focusing on like his degree and MBA and stuff. So I doubt think that he would drink.
How do we know
That
that?
kind of stuff.
Javion and Christian and Chase has a book in it. Go ahead.
They didn't specify whether he used to be a smoker, but they did specify if he was. They did specify that he wasn't a smoker now, and I just wanted to say that that's something.
Yeah, because
that wasn't his.
I think he's not guilty of the crime because it said he wasn't there at the scene of the crime multiple hours before. He said he left the scene much before that.
We also although he was the only one that had the sports car at the time. They didn't specify.
Yeah, but there could be different They could be the same model of car.
Wait. Luke, go ahead.
So there's one fact that most of you have been overlooking. So the person could tell what kind of clothes they were wearing, right? So if they could say tell what clothes they were wearing because they had their headlights on, they could also tell the shape of the figure. if they said that they couldn't.
Yeah.
So they obviously would have seen. So they would have known if it was male or female based on the bill. Correct?
Yes.
Which is another reason to say why Taylor that's the fact to prove that he wasn't, because if they can say and tell what clothing they wear because their headlights were on, they could also identify.
Yes. And also, I think he played because he could have taken off one of his gloves to use the lighter because it's hard to do stuff.
If what the
Abby, do you want to add?
Sorry,
I want to make sure everybody in the room gets a chance to speak.
The only way you can put your gloves on is to touch them. So maybe the fingerprints are
Also, they did not specify what type of glove it could have been.
No, they
So-
So guys, I have another thing. One thing that I was.
Anything from Mario?
So I think that he is guilty because, like, I was gonna say the same that Luke said. The headlights of the witness was on, which means like they could see like their body type, their clothing. Well, it did say that the clothing, so they could probably see their body type.
Yeah.
So I think
I want to add on to Ava though, because they said if she said that they could have taken off the glove to light the fire and stuff. This fire happened at 1:36 a.m. I believe. If he left the scene at 12 o'clock, how would he be there for the scene? Also, like I said before, how many models do you think in Texas are there of waste model yellow sports cars? Also, the fact how the group leaders, like the seniors, were as a joke telling people. Some of them were as a joke saying it, but some of them might have been for real. There could have been other people there.
Yeah.
I want Hunter to speak.
Two more speakers, and then we're going to take a poll, okay? Go ahead, Hunter, and then Mario, right? James, sorry.
I did better.
Martin or?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes people that are joking around doesn't mean they're always joking. So I think that the people that were joking about it actually did it. And think about this: if it's in Texas during the spring, I don't know why it would be so cold enough to wear gloves in the first place. So I feel like you would be wearing them to hide, like to cover himself so they can't be seen.
Ooh, yeah, you got a good point.
And James.
And my final thing is what? Okay, so from what we heard, the heights range from 6'1" to 5'9". Name one NBA player that is around that height. He literally said his. Okay, I have no.
Well,
I have
actually,
something
James,
to add though.
he said his real height was 5'6".
Yeah, he's
Okay.
5'6", and they say that
5'6".
the person who was at the crime scene was 6 foot.
Which is a half.
All right, so guys,
So now you have to
unfortunately,
vote. Every person has to say whether
We have
they're
to
guilty or not guilty. Every person.
if you were in a real jury, you would keep arguing like this for hours and hours and hours, but we don't have the time today. So we're gonna get the video camera out of here so that we can make it a surprise for the outside there. Let's start with you.
The jury is voting. They're voting, so if everybody would like to take a seat. Yeah.
We have a bird.
Jimmie, if I lose at first,
Why?
Before we progress, you guys did an awesome job. And none of you guys, yes. Nobody gives the sixth grade a hard time for their decision, okay? Hopefully you watch the video of the sixth grade. They knew the facts, they were applying the facts, they listened well. So I'll turn it over to.
Absolutely.
So just, I'm sorry, forget to Terrence this thing. Yeah, I was at a meeting today, long story short, and one of the principals asked me, like, what makes Holy Trinity so special? They see us on Facebook, they see lots of things that happen. And maybe everything's not always perfect, but things like this, events like this, is what makes our school so special, because we have parents who run clubs who, as we said earlier, are their children were in kindergarten or first grade or pre-K and stepped up and do this. So special thanks to, Mr. Pargola, Mr. Holleran, Mrs. Martin, Judge Chronicle. Our students make our school so special. The jury did a fantastic job. You'll see it back on the live stream or whatever we're doing. That part, but they did a great job to see their growth and discussion of the case, and our 7th and 8th grade students who've come a long way, and there's public speaking, and of course our parents here and your support. So great job, everyone. Special thanks to also our Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Proglia for jumping in and helping, our teachers who make our school special, Miss G for moderating, Miss Traub and Miss Fario. I think I have everybody. Our parents, and Mr. Jim Judas, we've seen from 21st Century, and Bucks County IU has come out many times, and I'll let him have the final word before the judge and verdict.
Mr. McCusker used the word special. I have been coming to this school for almost 20 years in this 21st Century project, and my job is to evaluate whether it's meeting the outcomes and goals of this grant that the school gets, and whether it is actually doing what's promised in the proposals that given to the federal government and the state government. It's my job to write a report to describe what's going on in Holy Trinity, to specifically describe the activities and the outcomes and how they're using the fund, how the teachers and the staff are running that. And I can tell you that when Mr. McCusker used the word special, in all the reports that I write, this is one of the funnest ones to write about, because it really does meet all aspects of the grant that the federal government and the state government is getting. The parent involvement, the maturity of the students, the range of activities. This makes this school district a very special one. And I always, in all the reports I send in every year, highlight this activity because it's unusual. And I would suggest to other grants, because this goes on all over the state, that they should use this model as something to do in their own school districts, in their own areas. So far, I don't know whether they take my advice, but I'm not bashful about giving it. So once again, it's been a privilege to be here to see these folks do such a wonderful job. And if you could hear the discussion or the discourse of the jurors, you would be surprised and proud as I am. So good luck and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, jury, have you reached the verdict?
Yes.
Okay. You have to nominate someone to speak on your behalf?
If you could pull them, please.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right, we'll start here. If you will stand up and you can say what you.
Defendant is not guilty.
Okay.
I also believe that the defendant is not guilty.
I also believe that the defendant is not guilty, Your Honor.
I believe the defendant is guilty, Your Honor.
I also believe that the defendant is not guilty, Your Honor.
I believe that the defendant is guilty, Your Honor.
I believe the defendant is not guilty, Your Honor.
I believe the defendant is guilty, Your Honor.
I believe the defendant is not guilty.
I believe the defendant is not guilty. I also believe that the defendant is not guilty. I believe the defendant is not guilty.
I believe the defendant is guilty.
Right, I think that was 4 were guilty.
Correct.
Okay, so I think under the rules of this courtroom as we stand here today, that means that Taylor Glow would be not guilty.
Although, as I explained to the jurors, if we had more time, they would stay there and try to convince each other for hours and hours and hours, and this group would have gone on for hours and hours and hours. Thank you, everyone. Thank you guys for
I want to see the